President Republicans approved Pompeo. In addition, Senator Angus King of Maine announced his support, as have several Democrats, as we talked about, Joe Manchin, Heidi Heitkamp, and Joe Donnelly. And guess what? Doug Jones of Alabama, the freshman senator, the true progressive. Oh, no, he's not. He's practically Republican. Yeah. President Donald Trump fired his first Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, in a Twitter message on March, and he tapped Pompeo to take the job. So, yeah. The Senate is supposed to next vote on Richard Grenell to be the next ambassador of Germany. So there is that. Yeah, so Pompeo's approved, and that settles that. But up next, up next, though, for Mike Pompeo, will be the Iran nuclear deal. It was struck by President Barack Obama and the leaders of Russia, Britain, France, Germany, and China. Leaving the deal would further fray ties with Europe, but failing to scrap the deal would violate a core campaign pledge for Trump. Pompeo was a valuable member of the Republican chorus opposing the pact, but in his confirmation hearing, Pompeo promised to try to preserve the accord. One of the several pledges he made were at odds with his with his record as a four-term Tea Party congressman. And maybe he's growing up a little bit. Who knows? We'll see. But the important thing is to keep watching his pretty much his every move here as we continue. Move on here. Where will he go? What will he do? How will he fall? I think that's going to be very important. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back in a flash. Stay with us. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to today's show. I'm going to get right to it because we don't have that much. We don't got that much time to go. So it's going to be very important to keep pushing on here. So the White House withdrew the nomination of Ronny L. Jackson, the White House physician, to lead the Veterans Affairs Department on Thursday after lawmakers went public with a torrent of accusations leveled against him by nearly 24 current and former colleagues from the White House medical staff. In a statement released Thursday, Dr. Jackson announced that he was withdrawing his name for consideration. Unfortunately, because of how Washington works and how your drinking habits work, mister, these false allegations have become a distraction for this president and the important issue we must be addressing. How best we give the care to our nation's heroes. Dr. Jackson said in a statement publicly provided by the White House press office, the charges against him were completely false and fabricated. Also, Senate, within minutes of the withdrawal, President Trump lamented the loss of his nomination and that Senator Jon Tester would have a big price to pay. He's also of Montana, which is a pro-Trump state, for undercutting Jackson. So, he's an admiral. He's a highly respected and real leader. Trump said to Dr. Jackson in a telephone call to Fox and Friends. And then watch with Jon Tester of Montana, a state I won by like 20 points. They love me and I love them. I want to tell you, Jon Tester, this is what he said on Fox and Friends. I think this is going to cause him a lot of problems in his state. He's a man who took an incredible man, and smeared him. So, I mean, it's up to you guys. Can you disprove these allegations? The ball right now is in Trump's court and the Republicans' court. If Dr. Ronny Jackson is such a good, honorable, and serious and amazing man, why can't you disprove these allegations? I don't think it should be hard. I really do not think it should be hard to disprove these. Because, like, what is the problem? I don't see a problem with these. I don't see a problem with this whole situation at all, really. Trump sees these are all false accusations. These are false. They're trying to destroy a man. Well, I mean, there are a bunch of people speaking up. There are a bunch of people testifying. I mean, maybe it's a smear campaign. I don't know what it is, but it's up to them to prove it. I mean, they're putting up allegations they can't rebut with any real evidence other than just saying they're false, they're false, they're false over and over and over again. And the Republicans, they kind of have to come in and rebut this now because they can't. If they're saying it's not true, well, A, why'd you withdraw the nomination? And B, why are you saying it's not true if it's totally true? Like, come in and rebut these if they're so not true and that they're so hard to believe, they're so awful or whatnot. But even as the president was Dr. Jackson was denying the accusations, new ones were coming in. The question on Thursday was whether Jackson could continue even in his role as the president's physician, one he has filed since 2013. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the White House press secretary, said in a statement, Jackson is a doctor at the United States Navy assigned to the White House and is here at work today. The New York Times spoke with two former members of the White House medical office staff on Wednesday, both of whom described the culture under Jackson where medications were freely distributed and lightly accounted for. They both said that they'd witnessed Dr. Jackson intoxicated during White House travel and said it was a regular occurrence, especially while overseas. As we talked about yesterday on the show, there was an instance where President Barack Obama called on him to help him with some medical need, and he was passed out drunk in his hotel room. So Obama's aides just called him, took the medicine out of the bags because they knew what he was looking for, and they went on their way. They didn't say anything. I don't know why President Obama didn't want to disturb this and fire him, which was, I mean, it would have been a scandal, and I know Obama doesn't like scandals, but still, that's pretty bad. He was even called, just get this here. He was even called the Candyman. He got the nickname, literally, the Candyman, on how, based on how frequently he distributed drugs. He was all over there with the Ambien, with the sleep medication. It was a very common occurrence, which was quite crazy. So both of the former officials the New York Times talked to, this is again a New York Times report here, both of the former officials separately told separately told of a standing order to leave a bottle of rum and Diet Coke in Dr. Jackson's room on official travel. And both of them said they had been uncomfortable enough in Dr. Jackson's behavior to make complaints at the time with the White House military office. Any records of such complaints were not immediately verifiable, and they requested an anonymity for fear of reprisals. So such reports have cast a negative light on not only the current White House vetting process, but on the Obama White House, which repeatedly promoted Dr. Jackson and recommended his advancement through the Navy's highest ranks. So he was very highly backed up and supported for some odd reason by the Obama White House. And even the current White House is a little bit strange vetting process, but the question is, why would this guy so thoroughly push through? I think the two big questions here are, A, are these accusations true? And B, what is the deal and how do you survive if they are true for this long? And the other possible route is, if they're not true, then what was John Tester doing in the world but making these allegations up on those people who came to him at the time? So Tester says, Senator Johnny Isakson says of Georgia, I want to thank the service members who spoke bravely out over the past couple of weeks. It's my constitutional responsibility to make sure the veterans of this nation get a strong, thoroughly vetted leader who will fight for them. The next secretary must have a commitment to reform a strained healthcare system and a willingness to stand up to special interests who want to privatize the VA. My sleeves are rolled up and ready to work with Chairman Isakson to vet and confirm a secretary who is fit to run the VA. So that is Senator Tester speaking. But he is, that was Senator Tester speaking of Chairman Isakson there. So yeah, he did not respond to the president's threat of that he's going to be in big trouble. He's a bad boy. Yeah, the White House initially moved to defend Jackson against what the officials called ugly abuse and false allegations. He indicated repeatedly in interaction with reporters that he intended to stay the course, but the nomination was clearly in peril when top senators on the committee announced they would postpone a confirmation hearing for Dr. Jackson scheduled for the next day, pending further investigation. So that is a little bit worrying. I mean, this is not a big deal. This is not going to change the tide of history or whatever. but it's something really worth worrying about how this kind of guy was able to survive for this period of time in this White House and in the Obama White House as well, when he was doing this kind of stuff for this period of time, and apparently had the interactions with Barack Obama that he had himself. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We will be back in a flash. This is Newsflash on SWRN. Welcome back today to another live episode of Newsflash. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Really appreciate it. And all right, we are down to our last story of the day. And by the way, Newsflash, we're going to have it continuing on for about. This is going to be our 171st episode, and we will have 200 episodes. You can do the math on that one. Obviously, it brings you to about 29 more episodes until we are out of here for the summer, which is going to be fun. But I know that does bring us to not the summer, but yeah, we will think about possibly ordering 20 more episodes to the table, but yeah, that'll be consideration of time. We will keep you posted on that as well. So anyway, now we turn to the Senate Intelligence Committee. Jill Stein has defined the Senate intelligence document request, calling it overboard. The Intercept has reported the Jill Stein campaign is refusing to comply fully with a Senate Intelligence Committee request for documents and other correspondence made as part of a committee probe into Russian activities in the 2016 election, according to a letter to be delivered Thursday to the panel by an attorney for the campaign. The Green Party will agree to turn over some documents, but raised constitutional objections to the breadth of the inquiry, which was first made in November 2017, arguing the elements of it infringe on basic political rights enshrined by the First Amendment. So that's the problem here. We will see what they are on about. So, in a letter responding to Committee Chair Richard Burr of North Carolina, a Republican, and Ranking Member Mark Warner, the Stein's campaign has now said it will refuse some of the requests, calling it so overboard in reach as to demand constitutionally protected materials. The letter is posted online, and it was provided to the Intercept by the Jill Stein campaign. And Mara Verheiden-Hilliard of the Washington-based Partnership for Civil Justice Fund authored the letter and responded to 6 of the recipients from the committee, saying the would comply with some and not all of the orders the requests. The 6 requests from the committee. So, for instance, the committee asked for all communications between the campaign and Russian media organizations, their employees or associates between February 6th, 2015 and present. Stein's campaign willingly provided those. The committee also asked for communications from the campaign's policy discussions regarding Russia during the same time frame. Verheiden-Hilliard wrote that based on the campaign will decline to produce these materials based on the constitutional privilege arising from the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. So also, she also wrote that the campaign, based on constitutional privilege, she also wrote that the internal campaign communications of this nature are not pertinent to the subject of Russian interference in the elections. So, I mean, I know they obviously have a point there. They have a strong point that are probably... They can do a good job of arguing in court, but it just, and I know a lot of this stuff surrounding her is a bunch of BS, but again, it looks really bad if you try to hide stuff like that. I mean, it looks like, what it looks like is you're trying to hide something when you do it like that, but the problem is there is really no winning for her on this. She can release it, maybe, I don't know why she wouldn't want to release those, these foreign policy discussions.